Hi, my name is Dr. Daniel Fox. I'm a licensed psychologist in the state of Texas and an expert in the area of personality disorders. And today I want to talk about something that I see in the majority of my clients that are along the borderline spectrum. And this is that tendency to self-sabotage. And I think this is important to go over and discuss, and something for, if you're watching this, to think about that tendency. So if you enjoy the video, please subscribe, and please leave any comments that you may have, or how you have dealt with or overcome self-sabotaging tendencies and behaviors. So let's get started. So what happens is that I think a lot of folks along the borderline spectrum, that they have a tendency to sabotage themselves just before they're about to reach a goal. Perhaps it's they're dating someone who is nice to them and kind to them and patient and understanding, and then they purposely destroy the relationship before they think they're going to move in together, or before they're going to get engaged, or before a wedding, or before they get married, or the marriage is going well, and maybe they're moving forward, moving into a new house, and they're moving upward, and they become self-destructive. Another example would be when everything is calm and there is no acrimony, there is no arguments and disruption in relationships, whether it's with family, friends, or whatnot, and that peace and quiet creates a sense of uneasiness in the individual with BPD, within their core content. And what happens is that uneasiness, they become afraid of that abandonment, emptiness, that sense of worthlessness, thinking, why I don't deserve for things to go right. So they fall into these default behaviors, these maladaptive behaviors that they typically use, that are self-sabotaging, which can be to ruin friendships, or ruin love relationships, or ruin employment, or school, getting kicked out of school, whatever it may be. And there's a lot of ways that folks can self-sabotage, and you have to be on the lookout for that tendency and resist the urge to go back or to validate that negative, distorted tendency of how your BPD lens sees you. And if you're wondering what's a BPD lens, I'll put the link to the videos here. I'll briefly discuss it, which is it's that borderline tendency, that BPD tendency, to see yourself as broken, worthless, unworthy of love, empty, abandoned, everyone's going to leave you. It's that tendency to do that, and that feeds that BPD, that drives a lot of impulsive behavior that is self-sabotaging. But you can resist the urge to do that. How do you do that? How do you resist the urge to do that? First, know what your self-sabotaging behaviors are. Identify your core content. I know a lot of folks have talked about they're having trouble identifying what their core content is. And I've done videos on that where I've talked about that, what that core content is, what those underlying factors are that are driving. But it's hard to make a video specific for each individual watching this, because everyone has different core content, and it's hard to address that. That's why individual therapy is important, working with a mental health provider who understands BPD, driving factors, as well as surface structure behaviors, so that you can get an understanding of that. Because knowledge is empowerment, right? You guys know I say that a lot. Knowledge is empowerment. And I think that it is important to do that. And I know that there are not a lot of mental health providers who understand personality disorders the same way I do, and that's okay. Everybody can see it differently, absolutely. That's why I created the workbook that I did, so that it can help folks. And I know some folks can't afford therapy, so that's another avenue as well for folks who can't afford therapy, for the workbook as well. But let's get back to it. So the core content, so you have to know what's driving that self-sabotaging, that need to stay in sort of that feeling of negativity, that feeling of worthlessness, that feeling of being abandoned, of emptiness. And I don't think it's something that my clients do deliberately. It's something that they get this uneasiness inside that's like, this isn't right, this is too good, and I'm not getting kicked in the face. I'm just not going to let that happen. And I've had a number of clients that they will be in good relationships with folks, and things will be going well, and they'll be like, well, I destroyed it for this reason and this reason. Now, sometimes afterwards, right, when you get out of a relationship, you can go back and see it and say, well, that wasn't that great anyway. And if it wasn't that great anyway, what are those components and what did we learn from our old relationships to go forward so that we can do things differently, so that we can learn more about ourselves? So, but avoiding that self-sabotaging tendency, even if we perceive that the relationship was good, it still counts. Afterwards, it's okay to look back and say, well, it wasn't a great relationship anyway. Okay, well then you would process that. But what was that self-sabotaging tendency, and do you have other aspects in your life that indicate that you engage in that self-sabotaging behavior? So what is that core content? Then what is that behavior? What can you do to prevent that behavior? If alcohol assists in self-sabotaging behavior, going to AA, going to different alcohol treatment programs, that can be helpful. If managing cutting behaviors or self-harm behaviors, what can you do to disrupt that? If anger outbursts, what can you do to manage anger? How can you manage anger? I've done a video on anger. I've done several videos on anger. But learning about how to control that anger and manage that anger. Or if it is infidelity, what is that's driving that infidelity in relationships? So finding what that I mean, we can't have a 9-hour video. I mean, if you guys want a 9-hour video, let me know. But no, I can't do that. But what is it? And disrupting that process that leads to that self-sabotaging behavior. Now, in the video that I did last week, I talked about chain analysis. Now, a chain analysis can absolutely help you identify that self-sabotaging behavior, because what you're going to do is you're going to find that initial incident, and then you're going to chain it. You're going to analyze each step leading to the impulsive behavior, leading to the maladaptive behavior that is self-sabotaging. And building that sense of knowledge and building that sense of empowerment is so critical, because with a lot of my clients, for those that are moving forward and ready to take it on, the knowledge moves them forward. The insight moves them forward, because they want to do it differently. They want to live their life differently. They're able to do it, and they can do it, and you can do it too. I've seen it, and I know it's very possible. And I hope that you found this video helpful. And if you feel that any time that you have a self-sabotaging incident coming up, or you're about to engage in, play this video if you need to, and slow down and reason it and do it differently, because you are worthy of good things. You are you do have value. You do have other relationships in the future if they don't work out. You don't deserve abuse. You don't need alcohol to manage your emotions. You don't need drugs to manage your emotions. You can do it yourself. You just need the skills and strategies to do it. And I've worked with a lot of my clients where people have said he or she is hopeless, there's nothing they can do. I don't buy it. And I've worked with folks who were called that by other mental health providers. And I've said, well, I just don't agree with that. And after a long period of time, we had amazing outcomes. That doesn't mean it was a nice, smooth trajectory. That means that we went back a few steps, but then we went forward. And that's okay. That's how it is. But it is possible to do it. And hang on to that hope. You should have hope. BPD is a treatable disorder. So thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye-bye.